Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Nettie Owens with Sapari Solutions, and this series is What Businesses Need to Know Right Now. Today, I've brought with me Eric Steiner from Steiner Law Group. He's going to be talking to us about bankruptcy, which in the current climate, he actually was sharing some interesting points with me about the lack of bankruptcy that's been happening. So I'm interested to explore that a little bit more. Eric serves individuals, families, and businesses who want to address their debt through bankruptcy. Welcome.
Thanks, Nettie. Great to be here.
I'm glad to have you. I know we've been talking for a little while, but this is the first time that we've ever had a conversation live together. So I'm excited to bring this conversation to the public. So let's just dig in. What kinds of debts do businesses typically have? What are you seeing?
So debt businesses generally have, they may have a line of credit, which is what we call maybe unsecured debt, which is essentially there's no collateral backed by that loan. Mm-hmm. They may have debt that is backed by collateral, whether it's real property. For example, if it's a property flipping and renovation business, the loan typically be secured by the property. There's other kinds of secured loans that are secured by personal property as opposed to real property. Mm-hmm. Personal property would be accounts receivable, inventory, machinery, business accounts, and things like that. So there could be unsecured debt, there could be secured debt, and then often smaller businesses have some tax liabilities as well. So they owe amounts to the IRS or to the state of Maryland. So all these different kinds of debt do come into play in the business space.
So what happens? What is a business looking at if they're looking at the option of bankruptcy in order to manage their debt?
So what typically will happen if they're not able to make the payments, then the lender they sort of stonewall, they stop negotiating with the borrower, with the business, and mm-hmm. They hire a law firm, and the law firm is hired to aggressively collect on that debt. Right. That means letters demanding the full amount of the loan. What they can typically do is accelerate the full amount of the loan and demand the whole thing, including interest, attorney's fees often, costs associated with it, and those things can rack up very quickly. Once a law firm gets involved, it's not too far before a lawsuit is filed and everything that goes along with the lawsuit now. Mm-hmm. There are sometimes bases to challenge the lawsuit, but the goal of a lawsuit is for the lender to obtain a judgment.
Okay.
And when anybody wins a lawsuit, they get a judgment.
Right.
Judgment can be executed on for various different kinds of collections. And those collections, those are the most sort of insidious things for any borrower. Those look like bank account garnishments. They can look like garnishments from vendors and things like that owe mm-hmm. the business money. So that can be very, very disruptive to a business.
So this could be, or bringing someone on like yourself helps mitigate some of those risks, helps put a voice in the corner of the business if they're facing this kind of a situation, and you help them navigate that process. Is that right?
Absolutely. So whether there is a basis to challenge the lawsuit, that sometimes there is, we can litigate the lawsuit, or if the business just decides, we want to deal with all of our debt, they can either shut down or possibly reorganize through bankruptcy also. And when they mm-hmm. reorganize, they may be able to reduce or eliminate certain kinds of debt.
Okay, that sounds interesting. And we were talking before that there's definitely been some differences with how businesses are managing their debt now. There's in the U.S. Because as there are folks outside of the U.S. that are watching this, so I just want to be clear. In the U.S., the government has stepped in to provide a lot of support for businesses that are experiencing challenges due to the pandemic. So you were saying that you've seen a downturn in the number of bankruptcies that are being filed by businesses because of that. What do you expect might happen like 6 months from now as some of this business support wanes from the government?
Absolutely. So not only is there a lot of support for businesses with the Paycheck Protection Program, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, we also help a lot of individuals and families file for bankruptcy, as well as sometimes if the owner of the business is personally liable for somebody else, for a personal guarantee, they may want to file for bankruptcy in their own name as well.
Oh, okay. So tell me a little bit more about the personal guarantee that
So,
a business owner might be, might have pulled into play at some point.
Absolutely. So it's pretty standard when anybody gets a loan from any bank, a commercial loan for their business. Almost always they have to sign what's called a personal guarantee. That means they guarantee all amounts due under the loan. So if something goes bad and they cannot make the loan payments, not only will the bank try to come after the business, they'll also try to come after the personal guarantors.
Okay.
So if, for example, someone has their own business, it has to shut down because of COVID, and they go to work for somebody else, if the lender gets a lawsuit against that, a judgment, I should say, against that person, they can garnish their personal wages. They can try to garnish their personal bank accounts as well. But when we're looking at all the PPP loans, the EIDL loans, as well as various moratoriums on eviction, foreclosure, and forbearances on a lot of residential loans for their mortgages, that has sort of led to actually a decline in bankruptcies when we compare it to pre-pandemic.
But I can see where it would be really important, though, if your business has had to close and now you are going back to work and you're trying to get things right, then then having that bankruptcy option could be really significant to save your family from the financial hardship, the continued financial hardship that you might experience from closing your business. So if somebody is confronted with that, what would you say the first step would be?
So the first step to do is, a lot of people are afraid to even consider bankruptcy because it generally has a negative connotation, but I don't look at it that way at all. To me,
this is why I'm so glad you're here, because I do want to take that stigma away. I mean, there's so much that you've shared already that's super helpful, that really shows that you're in the corner of the person who is, struggling in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, bankruptcy, really the purpose of it is to help businesses and individuals and families to get a fresh start. That's really the purpose of it. And it's like, the way I look at it, it's a law like any other law. Just take advantage of it if you need it. And it's better to have a consultation, talk over some of the issues, so at least the business owners or the families, they can be educated and they can have some more facts to say, okay, this is what the bankruptcy looks like. These are the pros and the cons. And then then they can make an educated decision. I'm happy to talk to anybody. Sometimes I have clients that call me, they decide, okay, it's not worth it for me. And that's totally fine. But at least at that point, they're a little more educated and they can make a decision that's based on the weighing sort of the pros and cons of what a bankruptcy will look like.
Right. And, I love that perspective that you bring. This is a law. It's a safety net that's been provided. And the reality is, in business and in life, things go haywire. The stuff doesn't always go right. It doesn't mean that you need to go down with the ship. Let's find a way that you and your family can be supported. And, a lot of times that means supporting the other people around you in your business as well, because you wouldn't want to bring them down, in that kind of situation too. So great information. If people want to reach out to you, Eric, what should they do?
The best way is you can visit my website, which is www.steinerlawgroup.com. All of my social media is on my website. You can follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook.
Awesome. Well, definitely check that out. I know you've got some great resources there, and you're always, up to speed on what's going on and the ways that you can help businesses and individuals navigate, a difficult time like this. So thank you for being here. I'm so glad to be able to talk about this topic openly and hopefully get some more awareness around the support that's available.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.